So I think we can all agree that Elden Ring was much better than we all expected, and one of the reasons this game is so good is because of the diverse characters, their storyline, their gameplay, and their weapon pool. So today I want to go and rate each character by different qualities, and then do a final overall ranking of every single character. Now before we start, I want to say that literally every single character in this game is really good, and they appeal to a certain someone. So it's just my take, my opinion, my analysis on their abilities. You might disagree with me, you probably will disagree with me, but let's have a conversation. Let me know what character you think is the best, and let me know what you think I got wrong about these characters. I will also be giving two different scores for each character. One will be a team rating and one will be a solo ranking, because these characters are completely different in solos and in multiplayer. Someone that could be a 10 out of 10 in multiplayer could be a 5 out of 10 in solo, so let's keep that in mind before we go forward. Now, the first character that I want to talk about is Raider. Now, Raider was an unexpected character for me. I really didn't expect to like him as much as I do. I've always been a fan of Greatsword in these kind of games, but not colossal weapons. I like something like the Black Knight Greatsword, maybe a Halberd, maybe a Claymore, but nothing too extreme like these big weapons that Raider uses. But once I used him once, I absolutely fell in love with him. This guy's stagger potential is absolutely insane, especially in solos. If you are playing solos, you will definitely stun lock a boss at least 3 times, even the Night Lords. He does insane stagger potential. Now, of course, it's different in team multiplayer because the bosses have a larger stagger bar, but you will still do a lot of damage and get a lot of staggers in with Raider if you have the right weapons, because he does absolutely insane damage and stagger damage per hit. The one negative about Raider though is how slow his weapons are. So you do have to time your attacks and dodges pretty carefully, or you could end up in a bad spot. Now, even though you should be careful when you attack, since your weapons are so slow, Raider does have the second most health pool in the entire game, so you do have more room for error than most other characters, so you can get away with doing some greedy attacks here and there, but I do still recommend being very careful with him, because he does do a lot of damage. He can bring a lot of benefits to your team, and you do not want to go down often because you want to be consistently engaging with these bosses. Now let's talk about Raider's ability. His first ability is honestly the best one in his kit. You take reduced damage, and the more damage you take, you do more stun damage. Now, you can see in this clip, I completely failed at using him miserably because I thought my shit was charged up, but it was not charged up, so I just died. But his ability overall is incredibly good. You can do a lot of damage to boss, you can do a lot of stagger damage, and it's really good for survivability because you take basically no damage while using this ability. Now, his ultimate is probably one of the weakest parts of his kit, because most of the time it gets me into bad spots than good spots. I've gotten stuck while using this ultimate multiple times. Now, I can still do a lot of burst damage, and it does stun like everything else in Raider's kit, but I do think it's probably one of the worst character ultimates in the entire game. And that's not a diss to the ultimate, it's just a lot better ultimates in the game. Now, one final thing I want to talk about Raider before we give him his final score is his weapon pool. Raider does have a pretty small weapon pool, since I don't think there's that many colossal weapons in Elden Ring. But honestly, that's a benefit for him. Every single run that I have done on Raider, I have found at least one weapon that's really good for me. But it's always nice, since weapon is the most important part of a run. Now, finally, I will be rating Raider on solos a 9 out of 10 and a 9 out of 10 also in teams. Now, this character is not very different in both cases. You'll be playing him pretty similarly. The good benefit about him in solos is that you do start off with a lot of health, a lot of damage. One thing that makes characters come down in the rating in the future that you'll see is their low HP bar at the beginning can be extremely hard to get value of them in solos, but he doesn't have that problem. He does very well in solos and does very well in teams because you're just going to be playing him the same way. I think he's an overall excellent character, really good character to pick up when you're learning the game, because you have a lot of health and you do a lot of damage. You just have to be careful when you attack, but overall Raider is an excellent character, and I think he's probably one of the best in the entire game. Now, the next character I want to talk about is Revenant. Now, Revenant is also another character that I really didn't expect to love as much as I do. I think she's a lot of fun, and at first, I didn't think I would like her. I honestly didn't play her until I completely beat the game, and then I went back and started playing her, and honestly found a lot of fun in her. So, the main thing you want to do for Revenant is that you have 3 different summons that you want to be using during these fights, and these 3 summons vary for how good they are. You have Frederick, Sebastian, and Helen. Frederick is tanky, he does a lot of damage. Helen is squishy, but he comes back faster than all of them. He is very small. I rarely use Helen. He just kind of dies very quickly. And Sebastian is a big skeleton that again does a lot of damage, and he has a lot of health. So the main 2 you want to be using is Frederick and Sebastian. Now, Revenant has an extremely low health pool, and the lowest in the entire game, I believe. So what you want to be using is constantly have these summons up, at least in solo, so they'll be tanking for you, so you don't have to take aggro off the mobs. Now, the AI of these summons can be a bit wonky. Sometimes they can go for the wrong enemy. That can really screw you over. But outside of that, I think they're a great ability that do help you a lot. Now, the ideal playstyle that I have found for Revenant Like I said, try your own thing, experiment. Maybe you'll find a playstyle that you like better. But the ideal playstyle that I have found with Revenant is just finding a really powerful spell, incantation, and just spamming it in the entire fight. You can use your summons or your teammates to take aggro off you, because you do not want to have the boss constantly on you, because you will not have time to cast your spells and you do not have a lot of health, so you have little to no room for error. So that is the best playstyle for Revenant. Now, one negative about Revenant is that you cannot regenerate FP. So unless you have Starlight Shards or a passive that lets you get FP over time, you will eventually run out of spells. Especially if you have really powerful ones that take a lot of mana, you will not be able to spam them during the entire fight. So you do have to bring a weapon with you in case you run out of mana. Now, if you are playing with a team, they can all buy you Starlight Shards, so you probably won't run out during the entire run. But in the case of solos, it can be a bit difficult to maintain high mana for the entire game, especially if you have a lot of spells that take a lot of mana for you. Now, one thing I haven't discussed yet is Revenant's ultimate. Now, Revenant's ultimate is absolutely amazing in multiplayer, and it's still very good in solos, but I just do not believe that it's as good. So what Revenant's ultimate does, it basically revives everyone around you. It does not matter if they're 3 bars, 1 bar, you instantly revive them. And you also become invincible for a few seconds. Everyone in the vicinity ultimate does become invincible for a few seconds. And you can get a relic on it that also makes it do an explosion damage, which is nice. The damage can be beneficial to finish off mobs or bosses. And the fact you're doing damage while reviving people is obviously very nice. Now this, like I said, is amazing for team, one of the best ones in the entire game. But for souls, it doesn't really come in that handy. So that will affect Revenant's overall score in this game. Now, finally, for our scores, I will be giving Revenant a 9 out of 10 for teams and 7 out of 10 for solos. Now, some Revenant mans might get upset at this. I have done many solo Revenant runs. I have beat every single boss in this game with every single character. And Revenant is the one that I had the hardest time beating most bosses with, at least towards the beginning. It's just really hard to start off a run with Revenant, simply because your summons don't have a lot of health, you don't have a lot of health, you don't have any good spells with you. So it's just really hard to get value for in the beginning. But the reason I'm still giving it a 7 out of 10 is because towards the end, your spells will do a lot of damage, your summons will have a lot more health, so you can take aggro off you, you can basically reign free with damage. It's absolutely amazing. Now, the reason I'm giving her such a high score for Team 1s is because her damage output can be absolutely insane. Her ultimate is extremely beneficial for reviving your team, and if your team can help you through the beginning stages, you will basically be doing the most damage during the actual Night Lord boss fight, so it's worthwhile to keep her on your team. And the summons are also amazing because you have an extra person that can help with revives, an extra person that can take aggro off the boss for you. Absolutely amazing character. I just haven't found a lot of success with her solo, that's why I'm giving her a 7 out of 10, which is still a good score. Next up is arguably my favorite character, who I believe to be the best team character in the game. I do believe there's some other better characters in solos, but I believe in teams she is just absolutely cracked. Now, the reason I believe Duchess is the best team character is due to her ability. Her ability basically reprocs every damage, every status effect that the boss took or the enemy took once again, which is absolutely insane. Just the amount of damage you can do to a boss with Duchess is absolutely crazy. In solos and in teams, it's better in teams since you're doing a lot more staggered damage, a lot more status effects if you're communicating with your team, so you're just going to be better. But even in solos, you can just bring a lot of damage since the bosses do proc status effects more often. They do take more damage in solos. This ability can be absolutely game breaking. I've seen bosses' health bars get completely melted because of this ability, but like I said, she is my most played character, so maybe some of the people have seen it less, but I'm sure everyone has played with a good Duchess that really increases the burst damage on your team. Now, just because Duchess is my most played character doesn't mean I can't criticize her. I believe that Duchess probably has one of the worst ults in the entire game, if not the worst ult in the game. The best use out of it is for revives. It's almost completely useless in solos. The only use you'll get out of it is getting a sneaky attack in with a spell maybe before the boss sees you, because a lot of bosses in this game will just have AoE attacks. So even your ultimate that makes you invisible, you'll still get hit by an AoE attack. So this ultimate is only really useful for revives. Then again, it's not a top 5 revive ultimate, so it just really doesn't have any use outside of that. So it does duck a lot of points off of it, but I don't think it affects her overall character simply because of how good her normal ability is. Now, before we get into the final score of this, I want to talk about one of my favorite parts about her kit, and that's her stat distribution. I just love being able to use dexterity and intelligence weapons. Those are my favorite types of weapons, paired up with intelligence and bleed and dexterity. Now, Executor can use bleed and dexterity weapons better than her, but the fact Duchess can use intelligence, dexterity, and bleed is just one of my favorites. I love these kind of weapons, and the fact Duchess can use it effectively does give her a lot of points. She has my favorite loot pool out of every single character in the game as well. And finally, for our scores, I'll be giving Duchess a 10 out of 10 in teams and 8 out of 10 in solos. Now, the reason I'm giving her such a high score in teams is I believe she has so much utility. I believe her normal ability is the best ability in the entire game for teams. You can just proc so much burst damage, so much normal damage, so much stance damage. It just literally does it all. And the fact she has the best dodge in the entire game gives her a lot of survivability for your team. And her ultimate's only really useful in teams. Now, I said earlier her ultimate's one of the worst in the entire game, and I still stand by that. But it can still revive in a team setting. Now, the reason I'm giving her a lower score in solos because her ultimate is literally useless outside of 1 or 2 cheeky attacks on a boss before they notice you. And her dodge, even though it's really, really good, you still have a really low HP pool, so you can die very quickly early on. Next, I want to talk about the poster boy of Elden Ring, neightreign, Wilder. Now, Wilder was the first character I ever tried in the beta, and it was the first character I played for the first 3 bosses in neightreign. He's one of my favorites. I think he's a lot of fun. He's very good. He has one of the best ultimates in the entire game. You can do so much damage with this ultimate, but that's not the only good thing about it. It also does damage over time once you get a relic, because there's a fire around the enemy standing for a while, so it's absolutely amazing. The one negative about it is that it does not land all the time, because it's a long animation and bosses that move a lot can get out of it. But I think it can do the most damage in the entire game. It has a lot of stun potential, so I think it's definitely worth it. I think if it was super accurate, it really would be broken. So I think the ultimate is really good, probably one of the best in the entire game. I'd go top 3 personally, probably 2. And even his normal ability is honestly really good. The hook can bring a lot of benefits in so many different situations, especially if you have the relic that gives you 2 uses at a time. It's really good for closing distance between you and bosses, really good for helping revive teammates, really good for killing squishies or reviving teammates that are almost completely full. My favorite use of it is just getting out of the storm quickly, or when you want to go into the storm to get something, you can make it as quick as possible. Honestly, one of the most fun abilities in the entire game. But honestly, the best part of Wilder is his stat distribution. This guy has the best stat distribution in the entire game. He can basically use every single weapon and item in this game pretty effectively. Now, is there a character that can do it better? Yeah, for example, Duchess, Revenant, Recluse can all use magic better than him, but he can still use magic effectively. Now, is that the playstyle I recommend for him? Of course not. You basically want to use strength and dex equal scaling weapons. That's going to be your best build, like normal greatsword will do really good with them. Maybe some spears will do good with them, but Wilder can just use every single weapon in the entire game. And I would say that's the best part about his kit, but that can also be a slight negative sometimes. I've had a lot of runs where I don't really get a good weapon on Wilder, since his weapon pool is bigger than every single other character in the game. But besides literally that, I believe this guy is almost a perfect character. He is one of the best in the entire game. I believe he's the second best in the entire game. Just a super good character. Now, I'll be giving Wilder a 10 out of 10 for solos and a 9 out of 10 in teams. Now, you might be asking why is he 9 out of 10 in teams. I believe he does not bring enough utility for his team compared to the other 2 characters that I have at a 10 out of 10 that can really help their team with their abilities and ultimates. Not that Wilder can't do that, hence why he's getting a 9 out of 10, but I believe the other 2 characters do it slightly better than him. But on solo, he's genuinely a perfect character. He might be the best solo character. I think there's a good argument for it, but I don't know. But he would be one of the best in the entire game. Next up, we have the Guardian. And I want to say the Guardian, like every other character in Elden Ring right now, is a really good character. But I must say that I don't particularly enjoy him all that much. I've never been a shield guy in Souls games ever since 2014, since I first played Dark Souls 2. I never used the shield. So using a shield for him was a bit weird for me, since that's not something I've done before. But he is still a good character and does bring a lot of benefit to your team. The number one positive and at the same time negative about the Guardian, I would say, is his stat distribution. Guardian has the highest health in the entire game, which being S tier, but he also has the lowest damage in the entire game. His highest damaging stat is a B tier, which isn't strength. It's honestly kind of crazy to me. He does less damage than every other class, because every other class has at least one category they're A tier in. And Guardian just doesn't have that, which is a bit underwhelming for solo runs, so you won't be doing as much damage as you can with any other character. But he does have more survivability than any other character at the same time. Now, Guardian has 2 abilities. One is an AoE wind attack, and this AoE wind attack is definitely nice. It's really, really good for crowd control. If you're fighting just a bunch of ads, it's really good for them. You can basically kill them all in one shot, and if you can't kill them, you'll just be low enough where you can finish them on your own. I think this ability is good. I don't think it's anything crazy, nothing to write home about, but it's definitely not bad. I think the best part about his kit is definitely his ultimate. His ultimate is absolutely amazing. Not only does his ultimate do a lot of damage, it can revive all your teammates in one hit. It does not matter how many bars they have. One hit and it will revive everyone. And if you hold down the ultimate, not only do you do healing to your teammates, they're also immortal for a few seconds, which is absolutely amazing. His ultimate is definitely the best part of his character, but I do think he is a bit underwhelming compared to the other characters, which we'll get into in a second. So I'll be giving Guardian 8 out of 10 teams and 6 out of 10 solos. I just really struggle the most doing solo runs on this guy. His damage really is lackluster compared to every other character. Now I can still do good damage with him, it's not impossible, but why would you do good damage with him when every other character does do more? Like I said, he does have good survivability, but I don't think it's enough, at least in the solo setting. Now in a team setting, I think it's fine because your survivability just helps you take aggro off your teammates and your teammates can do damage. I've done some Revenant and Guardian runs and it's really been good because Revenant can just do a ton of damage while Guardian just tanks. It's really good combo. Overall, I think Guardian is a really good character, but it's just not really my playstyle, which could affect his overall rating, I'm gonna be honest, but I'll be giving him that score. Next up we have Iron Knight, and this character is genuinely the GOAT. If you want a character that's super good at everything, you want to pick this guy. Now, first of all, let's talk about his ability. His ability applies a red mark to someone, and this red mark can be popped. And when you pop it, it does a lot of burst damage, a lot of stance damage, and it can be reapplied almost instantly. Now, I think this ability is in the conversation for the best ability in the entire game. I think Iron Knight in general is in the conversation for having the best ultimate and ability in the game. Combination of them at least. I think you could argue that Executor has a better ultimate by itself, and you could argue this has a better ability by itself, but I think if you're combining both, this guy has the best overall kit. Both of his ultimate and his normal ability are just so insanely good. And that's not even the only use for the ability. The ability that applies mark also gives you insane iframes. You can basically avoid every single move in the game with ease. The iframes it gives you is absolutely insane. Now, this is not even the best part about Iron Knight's kit. You also have an amazing ultimate. This amazing ultimate almost pops the mark instantly, so you can combine them and do a lot of damage. It can revive teammates that have 2 bars instantly, and if you time it correctly, you can hit the boss and your teammates with it to do a ton of damage, a ton of burst damage, pop the mark, and revive your team. This guy is genuinely amazing. The one thing that I will say is negative for him, there's not a lot of bows in Elden Ring, and there's not a lot of good bows in Elden Ring. So what you want to do most of the time is bring your own bow and just make sure to upgrade it with whatever status effect you want. I recommend bringing the boss's weakness, or if you do not have the boss's weakness, just bring a bleed or frost if they're not resistant to it. And you can basically do everything with this guy. And finally, I'll be giving Iron Knight a 10 out of 10 in solos and a 10 out of 10 in teams. Now, this guy has so much utility that he can bring your team in teams and in solos. The mark ability is insanely good in teams. It's insanely good in solos. The mark does pop a lot quicker in solo, so it's not like you're at a disadvantage when you have less people. But it does also nice to have more people, so you have more people focusing on it in case the boss runs away from you. You have an iframe dodge that can help you, and even though he has a low HP bar, you're never going to be in the face of the enemy, so you're going to be fine at the beginning of solos doing a lot of damage and popping your marks. And his ultimate is just way too good. His ultimate also gives you invisibility frame, so you can even use that to avoid attacks. This guy is just absolutely insane. He can literally do everything. Only negative, but like I said, is just make sure to bring out your own bow, because there is not a lot of good bows in Elden Ring. You might not find one that suits you. Now, next character we're going to be talking about is Executor, and Executor is a lot of fun. I know my Sekiro fans were probably very excited to see this character, and I have a lot of fun playing him too. I think he's absolutely amazing. Now, my favorite part of Executor is his weapon pool. There's not a lot of katanas in Elden Ring. In fact, there's barely any. So every time you play Executor, you're bound to get an amazing weapon. You're going to get Rivers of Blood, a Moonveil, a Hand of Millennia, which honestly is amazing. Weapons are probably the most important part of this game, so having a good one is always nice. Now, something that I will duck some points off Executor is his normal skill. I think parrying is absolutely amazing, has a very high skill ceiling, but it's just not as good in multiplayer compared to how it is in solos. Now in solos, everything is very controlled. You know, what boss attacking you is just you, the boss, or the mobs that are around you. In multiplayer, you don't know when the boss is going to switch aggro on you. You don't know when it's going to be on the move, when he's going to be on your teammates, when he's going to be on you. It's just much harder to get successful parries off in a multiplayer setting compared to solo. But there's a lot of people that can still do it. I've done it a few times. It's just not as easy to do. So I'll be ducking some points off Executor, but he's still an amazing character. And so far, we're only talking about his weapon pool and his skill. So there's a lot more things to get into. Now the way I like playing Executor is putting a Frost Affinity on my weapon already. Since my weapon already does bleed, you can just be stacking these status effects and do a lot of burst damage depending on the boss. Of course, if you're fighting a boss that's resistant to Frost, you want to use a different status effect. But overall, I find this to be extremely effective. You do a lot of burst damage, it's really great. You do this until you find a better katana like Rivers of Blood, or Moonveil, or Hand of Millennia like I said earlier. Now, my other favorite part of Executor is his ultimate. This ultimate is absolutely amazing. My favorite ultimate in the game. I would argue it's the best ultimate in the game. You get a lot of survivability. It's very hard to die in this ultimate unless you're very underleveled with the boss you're fighting. You do a good amount of damage. If you get out of it instantly, you can do an insane amount of damage, and it's literally perfect for revives. This ultimate is my favorite part, and I think the best part about his kit outside of his weapon pool. I think you get a lot of value out of this. It's super fun to use as well. And finally, I'll be giving Executor a 7 out of 10 in solos and 8 out of 10 in teams. This guy's still very fun in both categories. We just get a lot more value out of him in solos. You get more value out of his parry since it's a lot more controlled. You get more value out of his status effects since you proc more often in solos. But you can still do very good in teams. Your ultimate can revive your teammates almost every time. It doesn't matter how many bars they have. It's definitely the best revive ultimate in the entire game that can also do damage at the same time. I think this guy is overall a very fun character. I just believe he's a bit outclassed by some other characters in the game. So next up I have Recluse. Now Recluse is a very weird one because I've had the most damage I have ever done in neightreign with Recluse in a team setting. But on solo runs I do kind of struggle to start her, and I think that's mostly because of the same reason I gave to Revenant. Her spells just are not very good at the start. You just don't know if you're going to get good spells at the beginning. So you're usually stuck with pretty lackluster spells. So it's hard to level up a lot on night 1 or deal with the bosses in night 1. But I think if you make it past the first initial day with a decent amount of levels, you'll be fine in night 2, because that's when you get the really good spells, because you can take on the big bosses where they give you the good spells. Now Recluse is overall a really fun character. I think his strat distribution is really good. You basically can't use any melee weapons because they're just not good for you, but you can use any spell, incantation, dragon sword, so you can use all of them very effectively, more effectively than any other character in the game. Her ability is probably also one of the most fun abilities in the game. Depending on the magic attack you did, you can put that into a cocktail. You can combine different magic attacks to do different type of attacks. My favorite is the magic and lightning. I think it's the coolest one. It does the most damage. It's just overall very fun to use. And that's also how you regenerate FP. That's why I do believe Recluse is better than Revenant. Just how consistently you can regenerate FP is just super nice. You can stay in the fight for much longer. It's much better for solo runs, simply because you don't have to rely on other people to buy you still treasure. You don't have to rely on items to give you FP. You just naturally have FP. Now Recluse's ultimate is a very weird one for me because it's a good ultimate. It's a good ultimate. It can revive teammates if they have 1 bar, and it can make bosses take more damage, but I feel like you don't really get too much value out of it in a solo setting compared to a team setting. So I do feel like it does bring her down slightly because she is more valuable in teams with her ultimate. But I think she's overall a good character still in solos and in teams. And finally, I'll be giving Recluse a 7.5 in solos and a 9 out of 10 in teams. You might be like, where is the decimal coming from? We've only had whole numbers until now. And you would be right. The only reason I'm giving Recluse a 7.5 is because I believe she's slightly better than Revenant, but I just don't think she's better than anyone or even close to anyone that I have at an 8 out of 10. So I'm giving her a 7.5. Now the reason I believe she's slightly better than Revenant is because she can regenerate her own FP in solos, which gives her a better fighting chance, but she does still have to rely on the beginning spells at the start of the run, which can be pretty weak. I do believe that overall Recluse shines a lot more in teams compared to solos. You can have your team members take aggro off you so they can just do a lot of damage. You have more of a chance to find good spells if there's more people that might find good spells, and they can help you at the beginning when you don't have a lot of good spells. And her ultimate is super good in teams. You can just burst down mobs. It's just not as good in solos. Overall, she is a great character that shines a lot in a team setting. Finally, I want to thank everyone that watched this video. And if you're only skipping to this part to see the final ranking, listen, I get it, I'll give it to you right now. But if you see a take you really disagree with, make sure to go back and watch that character as part of the video, because I do give reasoning behind all these rankings. So number 1 for solos, you have Iron Eye. Number 2, we have Wilder. Number 3, we have Raider. Number 4, we have Duchess. Number 5, we have Executor. Number 6, we have Recluse. Number 7, we have Revenant. And number 8, we have Guardian. Before I give you the team ones, I want to say that this was a very close ranking. I gave most of these characters a 9 out of 10 in teams because I do believe all of them are very good in the team setting. But someone has to be first, someone has to be last, so I have to give the ranking. Number 1, I have Duchess. Number 2, I have R9. Number 3, I have Wilder. Number 4, I have Raider. Number 5, I have Recluse. Number 6, I have Revenant. Number 7, I have Guardian. Number 8, I have Executor. And if there's any disagreements, please let me know. I make these videos to have discussions, to share my opinion, so if there's any disagreement, please let me know in the comments.